And good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Adventures in Truth livecast. My name is Jim Kaysen. I'm excited to be with you here, and I'm also excited because our show today is going to be pretty extraordinary. We are been feeling my way into all of the things that have been, going on astrologically, and one of the things that struck me is this sort of understanding the influence and the inexorability of the change that those energies portend, and what I mean by that ultimately is that those influences are there because they are a part of our evolutionary process in helping us to unfold this experience, this amazing human experience. And it seems to me that there is this sort of inexorableness to it. It's going to create change, and we sort of look at it as here's some information that might help me understand where I am. And I want to say that I think this is much more depth than that. And so that's why I'm excited today that I got Shellie Enteen back with us today to bring that astrological perspective. She's an amazing teacher and astrologer and holistic practitioner, holistic health practitioner, and just an incredible viewpoint on the astrological impacts. And I like including these things because I think they're important and because I think they help us to flesh out some of the things we witness in the world that we get too attached to. So I'm looking forward to that conversation, and I hope you look forward to it as well. If this is your first time with us, we run live on Wednesdays and Fridays. I hope that you are watching us live. If you are, you can head over to the Adventures in Truth Facebook page, and there you can interact on the live stream. You can type into the comments, and we'll receive the comments. And if you have questions, we can answer the questions on air. Love to have that interaction. Everywhere else that you are, if you're on YouTube Live, E360 TV, please hit that like button, hit subscribe, let people know we're here. Tell people all about the show, because I think it's a powerful show that really helps people to expand and grow in their process. So we're going to get ready to dive in here in just a second. So be with me, and I'll be right back. Oh, it's a little slow for me today. The brain is working a little slow. So quick 30 seconds about my book, Fear is a Choice, Unraveling the Illusion of Our Separation from Love. It's doing well in the world. I'm excited that it's out. Check it out. All your favorite book distributors, Barnes & Noble and IndieBound and Amazon and Kindle. And I'm going to be working on an audio version here pretty quick. Is that what I mean to say? Yeah. And so that's going to be pretty cool. But this book is amazing. This book is a powerful book. fearisachoicebook.com. What we do here, this book is about diving into the impact of fear in the human experience and helping you to understand how to change that experience, how to change your relationship with fear. Because when you change your relationship with fear, it literally changes everything. So again, www.fearisachoicebook.com. You can check out my Facebook the page there. It gives you lots of information about the book, order links, and you can also see a couple videos too, if you'd like, about the book as well. So hope you get to check it out. Share it with your friends. Check out the reviews. It's pretty awesome. So thank you guys, and have a great one. Woohoo! It's promotion heaven here the first thing in the morning, these Wednesday morning things. My world is good. I want to take a minute here and just share my world is good. This is the year of conscious creation, people. This is the year that we get to, not that we have in every year, but I'm putting a huge focus on how much we get to create this year. We've spent the last number of years kind of being created around and kind of being at effect. For some. And I would like to encourage us all to get into this space of my world is good. I see us as 7.5 to 8 billion unique worlds inhabiting this beautiful planet. And the reason I say those unique worlds is because you are the only one who has the ability to create your life. You are the only person who can influence your experience by your choices and by your decisions and by your thoughts and actions and deeds. These are the things that make your world amazing. And this evolved out of the desire to help us all shift this mass conscious, this horrible negative mass conscious energy that we've been dealing with for a long time, this sort of negatively focused, fear-driven experience. And what my desire is here is to create this positive influence, this neutral positive statement. My world is good. It doesn't care what your sex is. It doesn't care what your religion is. Doesn't care what your politics are. Doesn't care what your color is. Doesn't care what any of it. Only cares about your energy, your attention, and your intention. My world is good. And you just repeat it as often as you think about it. Whenever you're in a space that you feel a little funky, my world is good. Call on that goodness, and then you begin to see that goodness. And I'm hoping for those of you who have been a part of this, again, this movement is not about your email addresses. It's not about your money. It's not about anything other than your intention, your focus, and your intention. Bringing my world is good to the planet, bringing it into your world so that all of us within our worlds can resonate in that energy and build the momentum of that energy and create a tipping point in the mass consciousness that allows us to bring more goodness forward in the world. I see it every day. I see it all the time, and I encourage you to go there as well. It doesn't obliterate what's out there, but it does create a new focus and a new energy that you can begin to see. Because remember, your perception is what creates your reality. Your reality is simply reflecting back your perception. So my world is good changes that perception. And it's about feeling it, speaking it, and feeling it as often as you think about it. My world is good. My world is good. My world is good. My world is good. Say it, feel it, and then say it some more, and then feel it some more. So my world is good. Join the movement in this year of conscious creation. We love having you. And we're going to shift over now. We're going to go say hi to Shellie, and we're going to dive into this amazing topic of influence and inexorability of change. So we'll be right back. Dun, dun. Hi.
Hi there. I have to tell you something right away. As soon as you started talking about my world is good, your shirt started sparkling.
Oh, how fun is that? So my green screen was twinkling a little.
Just your shirt and just sparkling away. You'll see.
That's fantastic. I love it. Yeah. I mean, energy just rolling off and all this my world is goodness.
Your energy changes, and it definitely did.
Shellie, so good to see you. I'm so glad that you're here.
Good to be here.
It's we've had an evolution with the topic, and I'm going to come clean with you here because I left you hanging for a day or two. We were talking about topic, and it was not for any type of frustration. It was just, okay, I haven't landed yet, so I gotta find where this is because I hear what she's here. I hear what she's calling, and I'm feeling this thing. And how can we bring these together? And I think we figured it out. I think we got to a place. Because ultimately this for me, and we're going to get to talk about the aspects and things that are going on, but this whole idea of yielding to the influence and the inexorable change that we get to experience, I kind of I'm hoping that what we'll get to do is maybe even talk a little bit about some recent history so that we can see how this force continues to show up, how these influences continue to inform our decisions and inform what happens, in the sense that it doesn't inform it outside of us. I mean, the influence is internal for everybody, and then how we express it, how we either resist or enjoin that energy. Like I think about the funny, we joke a lot about Mercury retrograde. I think everybody does. And when it's in retrograde, it seems like ridiculously obvious because stuff stops working, things get goofy, communication gets screwed up, and then we always automatically say, oh, it's Mercury retrograde. It's just Mercury retrograde. It's not a big deal. But the thing about it is a big deal. It's not. We kind of make light of it, but it's really not. It's not that subtle. and it is that impactful. So here, I
Okay.
offer you this.
Okay. I don't know where to start though, but I think to start here. Humans have a psychological quality called normalcy bias.
Mm.
And, like normally I eat breakfast before normally I go shopping on such and such. I mean, we we look at the earth signs for this,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's where a lot of this shifting and changing is happening right now. Yeah, we have Taurus, which is fixed earth, and it's like, let's keep it this way and stay this way and never change. Let's acquire and never lose. And then we have the sign of Virgo, which is there to help us do that by making sure everything's where it was and in its place and everything's functioning properly. It's the maintenance team, for health but also for your environment. Like if I need to find that book, you might ask me a question. I have to know where it is, And then we have Capricorn, which is where the big paradigm shift took place. And that is the structure, and that is normalcy. That is what we think is of a cultural normalcy. And normalcy bias can be what lets people stay living on fault lines and where there are fires coming across and where the big storms come and flood you all the time. Because as soon as it looks normal again, we have that bias to want that normalcy. And then we think, okay, well, now it's okay. I don't have to do anything.
So what is your experience? Because I love that normalcy bias, because that's what people are screaming about right now.
Exactly.
Everywhere is this, when are things getting back to normal? When are things getting back to normal? And the thing is, they're not. And it doesn't seem like anybody wants to come out and say they're not coming back. It's not happening. It's not going to come back to what it was ever for any reason, because it can't. It simply can't.
It simply can't. And that is something that is also seen like by the mutable and cardinal signs in astrology. Cardinal initiates something new, and mutable is constantly adjusting and changing. Mm-hmm. So we have, this thing that we do, and we look back in history, and we're always looking back, even as astrologers, to try to figure out what it means now that such and such is in this sign like it was. It can never be exactly the same.
Right.
It has to have an influence that's similar, but we are in a different time now. And whereas, you could have been, a very wealthy man if you had a bag of peppercorns at the time when getting to the Spice Islands was a big deal. I have a lot of pepper.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a big old jar in my cupboard.
It's not going to get me very far. Yeah. I can't put it in my 401k.
Exactly right. Let's go to my eggs, but that's about as far as it goes. Yeah.
And we always seem to think that whatever is always was. That's another interesting piece that we have. So we look at the stock market. Everybody's all like, the stock market, How old is the stock market? In the history of the world, it isn't old, like 100 years or something like that.
Exactly.
So can we allow ourselves to say my world is good and see that change could actually go in a good direction? That maybe what's normally done, like maybe some of the habits I have during a day aren't the best habits for me.
Yeah.
Maybe I could change for the better. Maybe we can change for the better.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I'm viewing that.
So Shellie, I'm going to throw you a little curveball. It may not be a curveball for you, but I'm going to throw one here and see what happens. We're going to go to the opening meditation, but what I want to come back to is something that was brewing earlier in meditation. And we don't have to get into an in-depth experience, but I'm very curious if you have some insight into the evolution of astrology, meaning it had to source somewhere. It had to come from something So somebody sat down someday and went, "Oh, that's a planet, and there's a relationship," and I'm curious because it helps to lay the foundation for where we're going in this conversation and understanding the inexorability of the change that's taking place. It's not a forced change; it's an evolutionary change, which is a very different thing, I think. So after we come back from the meditation, I would love if we could chat about that for a moment.
Sure.
But I said it's a curveball because we didn't talk about it. So I'll give
I
you the
know.
meditation time to kind of encapsulate your thought process.
I think I can do that.
And I hope you don't mind. I really just wanted to go there to see, especially for the viewers too, is to give us that foundational thing so that you understand that astrology is not the thing that you read in the newspaper every Sunday or every day. It's a form of it, but the actual practice and the whole evolution of it is really quite extraordinary. So
I'm delighted to tell you what I think about that.
Cool. I'm excited. So we're going to be right back. We're going to go into a moment of, I keep trying to see these things, Shellie, without my glasses, and it just doesn't work. One of these days it will. We're going to take a moment to focus. We'll see you in just a moment. And again, thank you all for being here. So glad to have you a part of the show. And one of the things that I like to do at the beginning of the show is to bring us all together energetically. And the other part of that is me kind of putting my money where my mouth is. I believe wholeheartedly that moments of quiet are absolutely necessary, especially as you look at this topic we're talking about today, these influences and this inexorable change. So getting to get quiet in part is calming the energy system, calming the self, but also focusing in the breath. The breath for me is the foundation of our experience. The breath is life force. It is prana, it's chi, it's the thing that animates this body. So the more we interact with that ability within ourselves, the more we are able to manage that and become a part of that process, the more I think, and in my personal experience, we get to see an extraordinary expansion in our consciousness because we begin to learn how to manage energy. And that's a huge, huge, huge thing. So to begin, let's just take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Just kind of shake out your body wherever you are. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Get settled. If you're sitting or laying down, or even if you're standing up, it doesn't matter. Just bringing that focus as you take a deep breath in through the nose and release it all, coming fully present in this moment. And as you become present in this moment, let your eyes close. Of course, if you're driving, please don't close your eyes. Bring your focus into the heart, into the center of your heart space. And I want you to become aware of your field as you're allowing yourself to inhale through the nose and exhale from the mouth. Just a nice steady flow of breath. And begin to experience your field, your energy. That's all this that's going on outside of the physical body. It's all of the place that you hold energy. It's where you store energy. It's where you interact in energy. And just become aware of the field and explore your field a little bit and feel your way into the things that are there, because we tend to hold a lot of things in our field. And when we're holding things in our field, it's taking parts of our energy, those things that we hold. Some of them are useful. Most of them are not. But I want you to be aware of them because this is your energy field. So be aware of what's there. Be aware of what's hanging out in your field. And then you're going to take a big deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth, fully centering yourself into the heart. And what I want you to do now is I want you to command your field. I want you to bring the field completely into your body. You can leave all the debris out there. It doesn't need to be part of this conversation. And if it's important, if it's necessary, it'll be there when you open your energy back up at the end of this. But for now, I want you to command your field into the heart space. I want you to begin to experience the inside of you. And so as you bring that field inside and you begin to experience the awareness on the inside, as you continue to breathe, let your consciousness roam around, starting in your head. Just let it roam around inside there. What does your brain feel like? What does the fluid feel like? What is that space behind your eyes? What about those sinuses? What do those feel like on the inside? Send some love. Fill those spaces with love, your love. And let that energy continue as you travel along the brain, coming into the brainstem and seeing where it connects into the spinal cord and how that runs down the body, and feeling all of the nerves that are expanding off of the spine and tracing those, feeling them as they expand through the body. It causes you to want to move around a little, to open up the body, because you begin to feel your consciousness moving around inside of you, and you get to experience all of that. As you're allowing that expansion to continue on the inside, become aware of the blood vessels and the organs and the tissues and all of the amazing apparatus that this body, this physical vessel, holds. And just send some pure energy of love on the inside at the harmony of the systems working together. The skeletal system, the nervous system, the muscular system, the blood system, the cardiovascular system, all of those systems working in harmony to create a vehicle for your consciousness to move on this planet. And now focusing even more deeply, bring all of that awareness now as you've explored the inside of your body, bring it all back up into the heart space, completely focused in the breath, inhaling through the nose and exhaling from the mouth. And we're going to begin a breath process. We're going to breathe into a count of 4, fully expanding, fully breathing in. And as we reach the top, we're going to rest in that expanded space, in that opening. And then we're going to purge from the mouth to a count of 6. And we're going to release all of that old energy and air. We're going to purge it and surrender it. And then at the bottom, we're going to rest in the void for just a moment, feeling the emptiness. So again, inhaling, we're going to begin. We'll inhale in the nose. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, feeling full and amazing. Feeling that fullness as you relax the shoulders and the neck into that fullness. And now purging from the mouth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Beautiful as you rest into that void, into that emptiness, relaxing the body completely as you re-engage the lungs and inhale to the nose. 2, 3, 4, feeling full and amazing, relaxing that body. And then purging from the mouth as you release to a count of 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, resting in the emptiness. The emptiness is just as important as the fullness. Feel yourself in receptivity in the emptiness, ready, waiting, as you engage the breath, inhaling to a count of 4, 2, 3, 4, feeling that fullness, and then surrendering it as you purge out of the mouth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and resting in the emptiness as you continue this rhythm on your own, staying connected to my voice, letting yourself fill completely 360 degrees of air as you fill those lungs with that fresh prana, that fresh life force, and you feel yourself full of life, full of energy as you rest into that fullness. And then you consciously choose to surrender it all, to let it all go in this moment, purging it all out of your system, all of that old energy, reaching down deep into the lungs to get all of that old energy and air out. And then you're there, you've purged, you've surrendered, and now you're completely in the openness of empty, just allowing and awaiting, just being in that space as you continue the breath. Now you re-engage and expand, feeling that extraordinary feeling of fullness. And as you reach the top, reveling in that fullness, and then choosing to surrender it in this moment, because you will create it again in the next moment. Surrendering it all to that count of 6, releasing it completely. And as you continue that breath, I want you to take in these words, just hear them and feel them. If they apply, great. If they don't, let them wash through. Nothing needs to stick. I am the evolution of God realized as matter. I inform and guide that expression as the pure expression of God. I show up as God. I connect as God. I align as God. I am creation realized. And from that, I create I expand, and I engage. I am. Good. Feel that amazing breath. And just being in this space, bringing yourself present to this moment as you bring all of your energy and focus to bear in this conversation, so that as Shellie and I move through this conversation, your influence is helping us to go deeper, to bring you answers to the questions that you seek. And now consciously, as you pulled your field in, I want you to consciously release your field now. Let it move back out into the world, cleansed and purified, ready to interact. We'll bring Shellie back into the fold here as we get ready for the next part of our conversation. Yielding to influence and inexorable change. So before the break, thank you all. Welcome back. I think we're ready for a good conversation. So before we went into that meditation, we were talking about sort of the evolution of the astrological experience. And so what are your thoughts on that, Michelle?
Well, I've been thinking about that a lot because with our South Node in Sagittarius, old beliefs and perceptions are supposed to be surrendered. That's another thing we don't like to do, though. So a lot of people don't even focus on that. Astrologers, I mean, a lot of people aren't even. We're going to have our eclipses in that sign and everything, and Gemini. And we're afraid of seeking new information because we have so much false information out there. So we're a little bit stuck right now. But it has occurred to me that Jupiter, which is the expansion planet, is in Aquarius, which rules astrology. So I have been thinking about it a lot because consciousness has evolved since astrology began. But one of the things I think is really interesting, they're showing pictures from Mars right now. And you can see like a desert and this incredible dark sky experience there because we haven't polluted it with our own lights, you know. If you go back to the time when man started looking at the sky, that's what they were seeing. They were seeing that, not what we see, which is practically nothing.
Right.
So, and there wasn't anything to do like television or Twitter or anything.
Yeah.
So of an evening, you might be doing that. And what they noticed was the relationship to what was happening on the planet. It wasn't so much about people and their personalities and things like that. It was really, how do we know now is the time of a shift of a season? You know, if you're unwilling to let change happen, you know, you are not noticing that the rest of the world is doing that all the time, and you're not noticing that your body's doing that all the time. So they were really aware of the fact that before the planets even, it was a star system, a constellation. That when this was rising in the east, that was when, you know, the Nile would flood, or this is when the spring begins, you know, or all of that. And it was crucial because of that need to preserve and have things work in order. We had to do certain things. Mm-hmm. So the planets are not the signs. The planets come into awareness because the stars in constellations don't move. They're fixed stars. And the word planet means wandering stars. So they notice that some of them are moving through those constellations. And that's where we get our planet energies. And of course, they notice the sun and the moon were the most obvious moving through. So planets were assigned then two different zodiac constellational energies because they resonated. They seemed to do something similar when they appeared, and they were of the like of. And back in the time when it began, we didn't have as many to choose from. So they doubled up on Mercury, had 2 signs, Venus has 2 signs, Mars has 2 signs, Jupiter has 2 signs, and Saturn has 2 signs. Now the telescopes have given us a larger view of a solar system. And, it must have been strange for astrologers, and there are some systems that do not include those planets. The Vedic system goes only to Saturn. It doesn't, you look at a Vedic chart, it doesn't have Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto on. Which, by the way, they just decided, okay, Pluto's a planet again.
Yeah.
Which I laughed and laughed because Pluto didn't know what they thought.
Pluto's going to do whatever it does.
It's like Mercury retrograde. You don't have to believe it. You just experience it.
Just experience it. Well, and that's the thing, too, as you're talking that I find fascinating is that the choice of and the choice of the word influence is very important because there's nothing in the universe, at least as I understand it, that forces anything. It's all influential, meaning those energies are there and they're going to continue to be there. The reason it's influence is because each of us has a different experience of that energy, given whatever the nature of our own experience on this planet is about. So we are being influenced, and that influence is affecting parts of our personality, parts of our perception, parts of our feelings. And so the influence is that is how, wanting to get in line with the influence, meaning the influences are all there to help us in forward. It seems to be in forward motion. That, that whole idea that the universe is always conspiring on our behalf. That everywhere we look, there are things that can help us better understand the evolution of this process. And so astrology gives us some amazing tools with that.
So, but also, while this is happening, there is another sort of a spiral moving in consciousness in terms of human. So if we look at the practice of astrology at a certain period of time, it's not the same as it is. By the time I came into astrology, we were looking at individuals and the psychological aspect and the spiritual aspect, and not just the fatalistic aspect, which is, and the idea that you change yourself, you've accomplished the change in the world is also true. We could not have the influences that are coming in on us now if there weren't evolutionary influences behind this greater than our individual experience, like choosing to be here now.
Mm-hmm.
I often wonder, this was going to be the biggest shift of all. We get to the timeless time and change, and we get to shift paradigm like we never have before. We get to shift in that sign with Saturn going into the Plutonic transformation, the science of transformation. Mm-hmm. And in Capricorn, that normalcy. So yes, it isn't necessary always. They aren't going to make us change, but in a way they are for the people who are evolved enough to experience that.
Well, and I think that's where the inexorableness comes for me is yes. And maybe I misspoke a little. I don't think the influences are, I think the influences are inevitable. It's just a question of how long we kick and fight and scream to resist those energies.
Right.
But exactly. the change is happening. The adjustment or the shift is happening. It's not a question of, I don't like that aspect, so that's not going to happen. That's not the way it works. No. It's still going to happen. It's just going to happen in the context of your resistance, which is a little different than what might happen if you weren't in resistance.
Well, and this is one of the reasons that I like to read for people and read their charts, because when you know what your influences are, then you can do exactly what you said. You can make a choice.
Yeah.
You're not just walking into the dark room and stumbling over, the chair that you didn't know was there.
Exactly.
Because as a human, you're going to react differently when you're stumbling than if you went, okay, so this year and I'm choosing to use it this way, is that is where we have gotten to as humans, to remembering we always had this.
Yeah.
And a lot of things were out there in the normalcy of society to stop us from knowing this, because it's not as easy to influence people who are using their own power to decide.
Yes. And that's been beautifully said, because that's really true. When you are being conscious, it's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
Because you are not, because I see them as influences, not effects, because they become the understanding of my Jupiter in the 9th house or over the 10th house in relationship to my sun in the 12th house. And technically it may seem like a bunch, but what's really cool is that I can sit in that experience and be in my own quiet space and allow myself to be informed by that influence and say, oh, okay, here's where my personality is about this. And maybe I'm a little about it, whatever this feeling is. But if I can go to the quiet space and allow the influence to kind of come over me, it will inform how I can move forward, because I have this somewhat of a structure-ish.
You like to have somewhat of a structure-ish.
Yeah, but it's not hardcore, because it's an influence. And there's 8 billion people on the planet that are all being influenced at different times through their own perception and through their own field. Right. And so the more you can embrace it, the more it becomes, to me, an invaluable tool, because you can see, that influence in my chart creates a tendency, and that tendency I tend to go that direction. And what it's saying to me is I have the opportunity to go that direction. Right. So if I'm going to get quiet and get into this, how can I migrate my what was the normal? How can I migrate from that normal to what appears to be not normal, but once you're there, it's so normal and so much greater the experience than the limitation you've left yourself in over here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, and also when you ask about the evolution of astrology, then you also are looking at a time when everything was very fatalistic. And now we're in a time where we can see that there is fate, and alignment has something to do with the destiny. Mm-hmm. But you can pick up any planet and use it as a good tool. You can pick up any aspect and use it, and not be fated to only use it in a bad way.
Yeah, well, I'll use. I mean, my Saturn is in Pisces, and it was in Pisces retrograde, and for years that was like my cross. It was like, and in the 6th house. So it was all about my work had to be hard. My work had to be this, and Saturn was down on top of me, beating me into the ground, and you grind it out, and all the myriad of things. There was a couple years for me where I was like, oh my gosh, I have this horrible sentence imposed on me by Saturn. And it was actually going through my first return that I really got it, that it really went, oh, what am I doing to myself? Why am I putting myself through this, when again, it's simply the migration. Here's the influences. These are to help you better understand your own energy, your own physical experience, your own energetic experience. And so when I lost the resistance to that taskmaster, and I said, okay, you're teaching me. Teach me. I'm not going to fight you anymore. Just teach me. And I know it's going to be uncomfortable at times, and that's okay.
You could say Saturn, as its great karmic teacher, was teaching you about the role of the victim.
Yes. And I did that for 10 years in my 20s. So
that's what the Pisces age we're coming out of, the age of the victim.
Into that. Love it.
That is, that's a tough one to get over sometimes,
Yeah, it did like a decade. I mean, literally, it took, I mean, to really get to a place of embracing that energy and that influence and saying, oh no, I'm not punishing myself. That's silly. This is helping me to change behavior and perception and attitude that I've probably carried long before I came on the planet. This is a stream of energy that I am attempting to realign because that's the experience I want to unfold for myself. And how cool is that? So we got to take a quick break. I'm sorry. We're going to take a quick break because we ran a little longer than I thought. But I'm going to do a quick commercial. Then we're going to come back. And Shellie, you're going to have a moment to chat with the gang and whatever you might be offering or want to share with the group. And then we're going to go in a little more deeply to the paradigm shift that we were talking about, if that's all right.
Sure.
So cool. I will be right back and we'll see you in just a second. All right, gang, quick commercial. I'm going to try to read this. Are you ready to be free from the limitations of fear, anxiety, and depression? Are you ready to reclaim your energy from feeling lost or powerless, maybe even purposeless? I know that's been a big deal, particularly in the last number of years. Do you feel overwhelmed by your relationship with fear? Ultimately, then again, did you know that the power to transform every aspect of your experience is within you? And that's what over here, this side, the science of transformation is all about. This is about accessing all of the potential of who you are, bringing it forward and helping you to embrace it, helping you to step into those influences that you have created for yourself in this lifetime so that you can become the best version of who you are. My program, The Science of Transformation, is all about tapping into your greatest potential. It's about exploring all the possibilities, experiencing everything you desire, and then changing and evolving and coming into a deep clarity about all of that. It's about becoming not just the best version of yourself, but the highest potential version of yourself, becoming who you truly are and who you were meant to be. www.thesciencetransformation.com is where you can go to learn more about the science of transformation if you'd like to work with me. I do work remotely and I do it in person. The science of transformation is an incredible tool to help you in transforming that experience. So enjoy this, and I will be back in just a moment.
The Science of Transformation method, and I can't tell you the difference that it's made in my life.
This program is all about you coming into the greatest form of you. All right, we're back with the amazing Miss Shellie Enteen, and I'm going to turn over the show to her for a minute here as she gets to talk to you all about the amazing work that she's doing. So we'll be back in just a sec.
Okay, well, he said, what are you offering these days? So I will mention, some of you may have never seen me before. I have a website, ShellieEnteen.com. And right now, what I'm offering people is if they will subscribe to the blog on that site, you can get a free moon phase report. And what the moon phase tells us is an underlying theme, kind of a music that plays in the background of your personality and your life experience. So it's really good to know about that. The moon phase is the relationship of the moon to the sun, just like we have a full moon and a new moon. You were born during one of those relationship times. And it does have something to do with who you are and how you express and when your strengths are each month. So, you go there, you just give me your email address. And when you do that, you will get my podcasts of the weekly astrology forecast, which I do every week, and naturally. And some other things. Sometimes I'll do a full moon if it's really important, or an eclipse, and you'll get all of that right in your email. And one of the things that I have been offering, and you've got 4 more days, is a special relationship report, because February was the month of love, but you can have it for any kinds of relationship. You're always dancing with somebody. So that is called the comparison chart. And if you get in touch with me at that email address, I can send you the information on how to order that. And you would be getting an MP3 recorded experience. And you'd need to give me birth information for 2 people, so I could take a look at how the dance is going and the strengths. Again, knowing is power. So when you understand what's going on between the 2 charts, you can understand how it's best approached or what the strengths can be. So that's the things I'm offering, but I always offer the reading of the birth chart. And you can go to the website and to the astrology page. It will have a drop down that says readings also. And you can go there and read about all the reading types that I offer, but you can also order there. So I highly recommend, and naturally, that you find out what these influences are, particularly as we go through this rapid period of change. And then you will be the master of your time and your energy. So do come and see.
Beautifully said. ShellieEnteen.com. And I flashed, I also put Astrolessence up there. That's your page on Facebook, right?
Astrolessence Facebook page. Yeah, they won't let me change it right now.
Okay. Oh, wow. But yeah, so check out Shellie, and again, it's all about the influences. So let's talk a little bit about, in the time we have left here, the paradigm shift. So we'll kind of make it a combination of the paradigm shift and how do we shift into our alignment. So maybe we can kind of combine those things. But so the major influences, I think I put a picture up so we could talk about that, just so we could see it. Is the Saturn and
that's this year and next year. Saturn, again, we just mentioned Saturn as the ruler of Capricorn and the normalcy, consensus, and also like this is the bones in your body. So this is a strong thing. It's not something that we don't need. It's good in a society to have certain structures, right? Uranus is the wild card, disruptor, the change, surprise, coyote medicine, which is the trickster. So that, the dance there, that's the relationship between Saturn and Uranus right now, is a square, which is a challenge. We have to do something to resolve the difference between the structure of normalcy and the surprising changes of the Uranus energy.
Is there a little bit of the unexpected too with regard to authority and how we respond to authority?
So yes, because the signs matter, right? So Capricorn is the sign of Saturn, and Aquarius is the sign of Uranus normally. So we always have something involved in challenge to authority naturally in the zodiac. Now it comes as a challenge to authority because Saturn is in Aquarius and it's squaring Uranus in Taurus. And Taurus, again, that place that doesn't want anything to change. The mountain must be there when I wake up tomorrow. My body must be here. Oh, what? What is earthquake? What? volcano? What? This is what's going on. We are having that. And financially, we got a little lopsided here. And what is happening to our economic experience? COVID showed up, and where's my income? Like a lot of people are going through massive change. I mean, it's not, some of us are having the luxury of not having the tremendous upheavals that others are experiencing. I mean, people in Texas were really experiencing a tremendous upheaval. Yeah. And, this could wake people up, though, and challenge the normalcy consensus in terms of the authorities that have been in power in that state. If people are aware of why the true reason that they experience this, and the truth that we must understand that with Uranus and Taurus for more years coming, these things are the new normal.
So where are they sitting now? What house are they? Are they in the 12th house now? Or are they in the 11th? Or are they somewhere else?
They are.
But I guess it's transiting against what? I guess that would be.
They are in different houses for different people's charts.
Right. I just realized when I asked that question, I'm like,
so there they are. Now, what they do is they come together in that exact moment of square, like they did in January. And then now Saturn is beyond the exact square, and we're starting to work through what we need to do about some of the changes. And then the retrograde of Saturn will bring them back together in June, and we'll be able to, at the moments that they're happening, we'll be able to see what is it that we've got to look at.
Mm-hmm. And that's what's so extraordinary now is it's just in our face. It's not subtle. It's not, it's not, you don't have to go hunting through the weeds. It's in your face, everybody. Right. When you can see a government official leave his state when his state is drowning to go sit in the sun with his family, something's not right.
You kind of get a sense of it, Yeah. And you also get the sense of the fact that if this is going to happen to Texas again, mm-hmm. which it's going to, because the currents have changed because of whatever the reason is, we do have this global warming. If you don't want to notice it, you're also just not noticing a shift.
Right.
And you're trying to think things are normal if you're not noticing it. So that shows us that this the positive, okay? Here's the positive on it. If we know this is true, and we're not just going to be blind to it, then we can make changes in energy, in infrastructures, in how we pay for those things, in how we generate those things, that can make it so that people have power everywhere, and they never lose that. They never suffer that. Okay? This is important because this is, again, the choice. We have a person in office now who is saying, let's juice up the economy by going for the green energy, create jobs, and change the ways. All right. So you've got the resistance from the people who make big money on the old ways. The holders of the peppercorns do not want to lose the value of peppercorn.
Yes.
But will they? Yes.
Yes. And that's the inexorability of it. We can fight it all we want. We can argue with it all we want. The energy is the energy. So we can either manage it through complete collapse, or we can manage it by being conscious of the changes that need to take place and acting on those changes, even though they may feel almost counterintuitive to what has been normal, to Shellie's point from the beginning of the show, that attachment to, what would you call it? Normalcy bias. So this idea of, Texas is a great microcosm in the sense that No, I mean, the things that are happening there are awful for the people that are living there. And it's opportunity. Again, influence leading to inexorable change. You have this whole period of influence that allows you to respond instead of react.
Exactly.
And that's why it's so important to take the time to embrace those changes. The things we're seeing happening on the world scale, particularly in our country, remember I said at the beginning, our perception, what we see in the world is our perception reflected back to us. Yes. It's simply what we believe, what we think, feel, and see. Right. So as we continue to do that, if we can embrace these changes, allowing the influences to influence us, then we naturally migrate to this new energy. There isn't necessarily a fight to get there or a fight to get away. You start to surrender the things that don't feel good anymore. Right. Even if, as we talked about with Mercury retrograde, it can be a challenging time. But I've also noticed that when you are just in alignment with the fact that you have to be precise in your communication, you have to be conscious in your communication, it changes how you communicate, which then has a different influence. So Mercury retrograde isn't disruptive. It's just changing the way we communicate in a more positive fashion. But when we resist it, then communication processes break down. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Also, in the norm, what is actually normal is for things to have a period of inner turning instead of outer acting. When we breathe, for instance, we fill up and then we release. And when Mercury's retrograde, we get to process and that take a look at what we thought about and said and did, and what do we want to keep and what do we want to not do again.
Oh, I love that perspective. Yeah.
But one of the things about this also has to do with the collective. The Aquarian energy is the group and the collective. And the Taurus energy is one of the self-focused signs, my body, my money, my. So there's also that conflict, you see. And Texas also shows us this because that state drew up articles of secession from the Union and ran to the government for help right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So many wild parallels going on.
It's a phenomenal example because crazy. The world, I mean, they have, one of the things that they have in the conspiracy theory, people are talking about the New World Order has to be bad. Oh my God, they're going to make us all this and that. If you look at the world now, it's impossible not to interact with cooperation. How can we get along at all? I mean, we're bringing things in from other countries. We're sending things out. It isn't 300 years ago.
Correct. And in the end, that's the point. We are unbelievably out of time. This hour has blown by. I can't thank you enough for being here. What a great conversation, guys. I hope that you're able to take from this just some clarity about understanding the power of these influences and that the inexorability of change is about this energy is not going anywhere. So how can we get on board to make that ease happen within our own experience, which then can translate how we interact with the world. And Shellie, your insights are amazing. Your information is so helpful to, I think, to really helping people get settled and grounded into the understanding of how powerful astrology is, and also how influential it can be when we understand what it is. So
Thank you, Jim.
Absolutely. It's a joy to have you here. And I think this is a conversation we could continue in a different form. But there's so many nuggets here that we could just spend an entire hour on. So I thank you for being here. I thank you all for being here again. Join us on Wednesdays and Fridays. And until we see you next time, have an amazing day. And thanks for joining us on Adventures in Truth. We'll see you next time. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Adventures in Truth Livecast. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you'd like to learn more about Jim's book, Fear is a Choice, Unraveling the Illusion of Our Separation from Love, check it out at www.fearisachoicebook.com. Also check out Moments of Truth, a new offering from Adventures in Truth. If you'd like to work with Jim, check out www.thesciencetransformation.com to book a session. Tune in live every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time and every Friday, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Or look for our new releases and podcasts every Monday. Until next time, be well, and we'll see you again on Adventures in Truth Livecast.